Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Andrew. I'm one of the improvement facilitators here at AROC, and it's my pleasure to run you through a webinar this afternoon about our new live rehab team dashboard on behalf of the wider AROC team. Before we kick off, I'm going to start with an acknowledgement to country. So we at AROC would like to acknowledge and pay our respects to the traditional owners on the land on which we meet. I'm here on Dharawal land in Wollongong, and I'm sure we're meeting across various lands across the country. We acknowledge their continued spiritual and cultural connection to country. We'd also like to pay our respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders past, present and emerging, who are the knowledge holders and teachers, and thank them for sharing their wisdom. So we're going to go through the tool today. If you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat and we will get to them at the end. We won't take them during, because we will try and stick as close to time as we can. So first of all, to access the live rehab team dashboard, you need to do that through AROC online services. So just starting here on the AROC homepage, and if you look at the menu bar down here on the left, there's AROC online services, also to refer to as AOS. So those of you who are submitting data to us should be relatively familiar with coming through here if you submit it through our portal. If you don't have access to AOS, you will need to request access. So you can do that by clicking here on the link there, which will generate an email with some fields that you need to fill in and to get authorization and access to your facilities AOS login, and you'll then have provided with a username and password. Once you have that, you come on here and log in, and you'll arrive here just on the AOS welcome page. Scroll across the top here to the reporting tab, and then down to live reporting. Once in here, it's the live rehab team dashboard that you want to click on to view. So when you come in for the first time, you will be greeted with a welcome tutorial. And what this will do, it will just show you around and give you some information about the different filters and how things work. But I'm just going to close that for today, as I'm going to go over everything for you. Once you're happy with that tutorial, if you don't want to see it again, you may have noticed there is a button there to click to not show that again, so you don't need to see it every time you come in. Once you come into the dashboard, you'll see here there are, as we scroll down, 7 different charts or graphs, which are presenting different parts of your AROC data. And we'll go through them in a minute one by one, but starting off, we'll just start at this toolbar at the top, which contains a whole bunch of filters and other menus. So first of all, if you're a hospital that has, or if you're a person who has multiple wards or multiple hospitals that you have access through to AOS, if you click here on the drop-down box, you can click on whichever one is you want to look at. Today, we're just going to be looking here at this fictional hospital, Anywhere Hospital. So this is no one in particular's data. Across the bottom here, you'll see there's 3 buttons, support and feedback, which I'll come back to the end and show you how you can provide us feedback on the tool, and also some further information that supports the data and the charts that are here. If you want to generate a PDF report, you can click on here and it will show you, it will generate a printable and shareable PDF report that you can use. And lastly here, you can click here to save your settings. So if you want the chart to look in the tool rather, the dashboard to look in a particular way in terms of the time frame or the impairment filters that you want to see most regularly, if you set them up and click Save Settings, then you'll see them each time that you log in. Over here to the middle, you see at the moment from a time frame point of view, we're looking at 1 year's worth of data. So across the bottom here, you can see the data is set up, is viewed monthly in this variation case mix adjusted FIM change chart. But if we want to see a wider range of data, we can click here on the 3-year time frame, and these columns will now switch to a quarterly time frames. Or if we want to see 5 years worth of data, we can click on the 5-year time frame and we'll see 5 years worth of data. The data in this tool is up to date as of midnight of last night or of the previous evening. That being said, it is data that is in our system. So if you're a site that enters your data into your own system and then extracts and uploads to us, that data won't be available in here until it's uploaded to us. So if I know for some facilities that's done at a district level or may not be directly under your control, but it may be something that if you want to have the most up-to-date data in here, you could speak to whoever is the person who takes care of that for you and try and get that done on a more frequent, timely fashion. So the next one across here is the impairment filter. So you can see at the moment we're looking at all, but if we click on the drop-down menu here, we can click any of the AROC impairment groups here that are available. So for instance, I'll click on stroke, and again here you'll see that the data will update quite quickly. What you haven't been able to see here is as we change all these filters, all of these different charts and the data in them will update. So you can see we're all seeing 5 years worth of data in yearly columns at the moment. Lastly, there's an age group filter here. So again, you can see here it's defaulted to all, but if we would like to, we can look at the those who are 65 or above, or if we would like those who are under 65, which would obviously include our NDIS cohorts as well, and the data will update as we do that. But let's just go back to 1 year's worth of data for all impairments and all age groups and have a bit of a look at each graph as we go down. So the first one here is variation in case mix adjusted FIM change. And so these first two charts are quite similar. The one on the left here looking at FIM change, the one on the right looking at length of stay. I'm not going to go through case mix adjustment in detail today, but you will notice there's a button here that says what is case mix adjustment. So if you click on that, there's a bit of information here on how we benchmark using the ANSNAP classification, an example of it, and also where you can get some more information in your AROC calendar year or financial year reports in the glossary there. So coming back to this chart, what we're looking at here is the proportion of episodes that fall into these different categories based on their case mix adjusted FIM change. So the first thing to note here is down the bottom right-hand corner, there is a FIM variation threshold. So it's currently set to 3, but I can adjust that if I would like. If I think 4 is a better variation, I can adjust that to 4 and the data will update quite quickly. And that helps to set what, how these groups are defined. So if we look at the red group here, this is the case mix adjusted FIM change, or the proportion of episodes, case mix adjusted FIM change that was less than -4. So that means they had a case mix FIM change that was less than, or sorry, is more than 4 points underneath the benchmark. So -5, -6, and so on. The next group, this orange group, is from the benchmark, so 0 to -4 points. So again, they're below the benchmark, but within that threshold of -4. Then we have the light green group, which is from the benchmark to +4 points. So they're achieving a FIM change that is above the benchmark up to 4 points. And then the dark green is those that are receiving a FIM change or episodes that are gaining a FIM change of greater than 4 points above the benchmark. And then you can see that's then we've got 0 to 100% here on our y-axis, and then the different months and how that is displayed across each of them. If we hover over any of these individual bars, we'll get to see the data in a little bit more detail, in particular the numbers, the exact numbers in terms of episodes, and also the percentages that are given for that particular time period. And if I look at a particular time period, say I look at July here and I say, oh, there was a high number of, or a high proportion of episodes in this red bar that were receiving a lower FIM change of lower than -4 points. And I want to have a closer look at them. If I click on this bar, I'll then get this table that will pop up and show me the episodic data for that particular group. So if you see here, you've got the patient identifier. So that will be whatever patient identifier that you use in your data. These are just randomly generated ones. They don't belong to anyone in particular. And then we've got here age, the group that we've selected, what their actual case mix FIM change was, their AROC impairment group and their ANSNAP class. And you can click on any of these columns to sort by them. So if you want to sort by the magnitude of the difference between their FIM change and the benchmark FIM change, you can see that here with it's now going from -36 downwards down to -5. Likewise, you can sort by age or any other groups that you wish to. Within this this pop-out, you can also change what group you're looking at. So you can say, oh, I want to have a look at those that were a little bit closer to the benchmark in July. And again, I'll see the episodic data for them, or I could also change the month from here as well. The other thing to note is in this pop-out, you can also download this data into an Excel or CSV file. You could print or also copy the data using those functions across the top. So if we click back out in here, the other thing you'll see in the top left here is the ability to change this from a graphical form to a table form. So if you click on that table button, you'll see that this data will now come up in a tabular form. Again, like with the pop-out, you can use the columns to sort the data, and you can also copy, print, or download to CSV or Excel using those options across the top. So moving over to the right, this chart is, as I said, quite similar, but now we're looking at length of stay. So variation in case mix adjusted length of stay. And again, we have a variation threshold which we can adjust. At the moment, that's set at 5 days. But like we could with FIM, we can adjust that threshold to whatever we deem would be necessary for us. And this is another thing that if you adjust this and save your settings, the button here, and you get a little pop-up saying that that's been saved, they will stay the same when you log in next time. So just to orientate you here, so the red column here is a case mix length of stay that is longer than +5 or greater than +5 days. So that means their length of stay was more than 5 days longer than the benchmark for their ANSNAP class. The orange group here is from 0, so from benchmark to 5 days longer. The green is from benchmark to 5 days less, or 5 days shorter than the benchmark. And then the dark green being more than 5 days less, or 5 days shorter than the benchmark. And again, we have similar functions within this. So we can hover to have a closer look at the numbers and the percentages of any of these groups. We can also click on any of those particular columns, and we can see the episodic data here. Click back off. And we've also got the option here to look at the table versus the graphical form. So we've chosen to display the FIM change and the length of stay data in this way to try and dampen the effect of a particular outlier. So if you've got one particularly long length of stay outlier in any given month, that's really going to affect what the mean for that month looks like. Whereby doing that this way, it's going to fall into this red class. So it's still showing you that there is an episode that's had a longer length of stay, but you can then have a look at what's happening elsewhere in that month without it all being kind of shifted by that one particular outlier. It's also, I guess, a place where you can adjust this threshold and get an understanding by going further up the threshold of how many of these red episodes and how far they are away from that particular benchmark. But again, also the other way to do that is just by drilling down and looking at the case mix length of stay in the pop-out window. Okay, so scrolling down to the next two charts. On the left here, we have the number of discharged episodes by impairment. So it's worthwhile noting here that all of the data is sorted into the time, whether that's the month, the quarter, or the year, based on the discharge date or the what we would call the mode of the episode end date. So if a particular episode is discharged in June, then it will fall into the June, regardless of necessarily when that episode started. So you can see here, this is looking at the number of episodes. So we can see the variation in episodes across the months. And you can see here, particularly in March, there was quite a big increase in the number of episodes at this hospital here. Again, as we had before, we've got the options to switch between a table and a graph view. We can hover over to get the numbers of the individual impairment groups that are represented here, as well as the percentages. And we can also click and drill down into the episodic data, as we could do with the other charts. Another thing that we're able to do here is to click in the legend and remove certain groups. So say we just wanted to look at these first 3 neurological caseloads of brain, neuro, and stroke. We can unclick all the other groups. And now we can have a look at just the number of payments, the number of episodes each month within those groups. It's worthwhile noting here, though, is when we do that, this only updates for this particular chart. You'll notice that the other charts here have not updated to just show that data. So if you are just wanting to looking at one particular one, it's both quicker and a better option to use the impairment filter up here. And then that way, all the other charts will update, and we'll come down here and you can see here now we've just got the stroke data in terms of the number of episodes for each given month. Just flick back here into all episodes. So moving now on to chart number 4, this is the access time to rehab. So this is showing the time it takes for patients to commence their rehab or to access your rehab wards from either their acute date or their injury date. So this first red bar here is from the acute date to the referral to rehab date. Just keep in mind here, you'll see down here in note 3, where acute date is missing, we've used the injury date here instead. The second navy here is showing the time from rehab referral to rehab assessment. The purple from rehab assessment to ready for rehab. And then the yellow here from ready to rehab for rehab start. So again, similar to the other charts, we have the option to click here and view the data in a table. We can hover over to get more information, and we can also click to drill down. One thing to note here is that you might see some wild variations here in your data if you've got an incorrect date in there. And by an incorrect date, I mean the date is valid, but it may not be the correct date for that episode. For example, if someone's put in the year 203 instead of the year 2023, that is a valid year, but it's obviously incorrect. Within this data, we haven't filtered those out to enable you to recognise them and then to be able to go back and fix that data so that when you get your AROC reports at the end of the calendar or financial year, or look at any other of your AROC data going forward, you have the correct information there. The best way to do that is to drill down, look at the episodic data, and if you sort each of the individual dates, you'll often find that the incorrect date is at one extreme or the other. The other thing to note here, you might see some dates here that are 10101, and you'll see there's a little note down the bottom here indicating that means that date item is invalid or missing. So when those dates are there, they have not been used, so they won't skew the data, but what they will sometimes show is that there's a different number of episodes for the different time frames. So what I mean by that, if you look here from acute to referral, there's 32 episodes. Likewise, from referral to rehab assessment, there's 32 episodes. But then we notice from rehab assessment to rehab ready, there's only 30. Likewise, from rehab ready to rehab start, there are only 30 episodes. So that indicates to me we've probably got 2 missing ready for rehab dates. So if I go in here and I click on the ready for rehab, I can then identify quite quickly, these are the 2 episodes where those dates are missing. I've got the patient identifiers there. I can go back and fill those dates in or at least investigate further why those dates may not be there. Okay, so scrolling down further now, our 5th chart here is discharge destination. So this is looking at the discharge destination for completed episodes. So those are those episodes where the mode of episode end is either a final or interim accommodation, or they're a change of care type to subacute or non-acute care, In most cases in rehab, that will be to maintenance care, which is in the AROC data is a motive episode end of 7. So again, here we're seeing the different proportions of episodes each month, which have been discharged to either private residence, residential aged care. They're being care type changed, another discharge destination, or they're missing. Again, similar options to what we have in other tables. We're able to look this in a table form, and again, we can sort by the different groups. If we wanted to have a look at a particular group quickly month by month, we're able to do that and see here that the care type change group across the different months we have available there. And again, we can drill down and look at any of these groups in particular. If we wanted to have a look at those patients in the month of July that were to residential aged care, we've got them there. One thing that is different on this chart is we do have a benchmark column here. So this is looking at what is the Australian or New Zealand benchmark, if you're a New Zealand hospital, of the discharge destinations for that particular filter that you've got based on the calendar year 2022 data. So this will always be based on the most current benchmark data. And this benchmark column will update. So if I go to stroke, for example, where I would expect to have a high proportion of patients going to residential care, you'll see that's there, for example, or whereas if I go to orthopedic replacements, where I'd expect that most patients are returning to a private residence, again, I can see that there with only a very small percentage going elsewhere, 97% there going to a private residence. So this will update with the filters that we put in here. Okay, so chart here number 6, this is looking at the cumulative days from the community ready date to the episode end date. So one of the dates that you have available to put into your in your AROC data is a community ready date. Now that date may or may not be the same day as the episode end date. This this chart will show data where those dates are different and their delay has been recorded. So you may have recorded a delay because of, say, an external reason, and then you've got a community ready date that is 5 days before your episode end date because was that delay in that patient being from being ready to be discharged in the community to actually being discharged. So this shows in any of these time periods, what's the cumulative days or what are the bed days essentially that you've lost because of those delays? And the color coding here, you can see green patient, orange service, purple external, pink equipment, light green behavioural, grey missing, or the sort of yellowy beige here is multiple reasons. So you can look at that and see what which of these the effect of these delays, and also what is the main reason for each of them. Where you've got multiple, again, you can click on this and it will show you what the reasons were. And you can look at the episodic data, the days and the dates themselves as well. I'm just going to scroll back up here and click on the 5-year data and have a look at this chart over 5 years. And what we can see here is there was one episode in 2019 that had an external delay of 365 days, which obviously would have had a major impact on this service. But unfortunately, having this one big one here really obscures anything that I want to see in the yearly data across the years beyond 2019. So what I can do from here, if I want to have a closer look at these ones, is click here on the zoom function, and I'll get these little crosshairs come up here, and I just click and drag and draw a box, and that allows me then to zoom in. And now I've got a much better look at what's going on here within the data here from 2020 through to 2023. And again, if I wanted to zoom in even closer, click that again to these years, I can do that as well. Likewise with the other charts, I can remove particular reasons for the delay if I just want to look at one or a few of these reasons in particular. To go back, if I just click here on the zoom reset, that will take us back to our original view. Now, this zoom function is also available in the access time to rehab and the number of discharged episodes by impairment charts as well. So you'll just see them there in the top right-hand corner of the charts. The last chart here, actually, let me go back to 1 year of data. Scroll back down. This last chart here is looking at the percentage of AROC data items completed. So for each of your AROC data items, what is the proportion of them that fall into each of these different color categories? So green means you've collected 100% of that data item. Yellow, 95 to 99% of that data item. Red, 90 to 94. And lastly, black is less than 90. So again, this is giving you a bit of an indication of how complete your data is, but then also allows you to have a closer look at, well, where we're missing data, what data is it? So again, we have the ability to hover and look at the numbers themselves, or look at the data in the table. But I really find probably the most useful function for this one is the drill down function. So if I want to look here at September, there was 27% of our data was collected at less than, of our data items were collected at less than 90%. So I can click on this and then get a greater understanding of which items they are and how many it was that were missing. Was it an item that is only relevant for a few episodes and we only missed a handful of them? So you can see here there were some that were only missed for a couple of episodes, or is it data items that are relevant for most or all episodes, and how many of them have we missed, and then what's the proportions? And likewise here, we can then look at some of the other groups as well by clicking through the different options here, or clicking off and clicking back on. Again, I feel that this is an area where services really can aim to be up at 100%, if not very close, definitely 95 plus in terms of collecting all the data items. And then, this chart allows you, I guess, where you may identify an issue in collecting a particular item or items in general, you can intervene and then track your progress and report that back to your team. So that is I guess, my quick run through each of the individual charts. If we scroll back to the top, one thing we want to make clear is that this is version 1 of our dashboard. It's, I suppose, the beginning rather than the end. So we are really keen to get your feedback, whether that's feedback on the way that these particular charts are displayed or look, or improvements that you have on them, or if it's other charts or other pieces of the AROC data that you think would be really useful to include. You can do that here by clicking on the support feedback, and you can click provide feedback, confirm that you're not a robot, and then you'll have here a red cap survey that you can fill in and send back to us. Or if it's easier for you, you can just click on the email and that will generate an email through your Outlook that you can send through to us here as well. The other option here is the info button. So that provides a little bit more information around the charts themselves and some of the calculations that are used within them. So again, this is somewhere where you can go and look for a little bit more information if you're not sure on a particular chart, or just wanted to gain a little bit more. If you still have questions, or if you're having trouble understanding or navigating this, please send us an email and get in touch. We're more than happy to help you navigate it further. The other button here is the Generate PDF report here. So if you click on that, you'll see quite quickly that will scroll up to 100%, and you can click on here on a PDF report. So this will show the charts in whichever filters that you had when you clicked on the Create the PDF report button. And on each page, you just have a nice picture of each of those charts and what they were showing. So again, this is something that you can use to share with other members of your team, take to team meetings, or distribute as is useful to you. Lastly, again, I'll mention there is the Save Settings button there as well. So you can save your settings to any of the filters or the threshold adjustments that you changed. That means when you come back, they'll be saved there. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we look forward to hearing your feedback.